Okay, and Frank, you can begin.
Hello, this is Frank Snyder from the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO. I'm pinch hitting for today with Rick Bloomingdale, who is traveling across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania doing the work for all of you working families. In the studio with me tonight in this live teletown hall is Jerry Alexiak, the Vice President of the 180,000-member PSEA, the Pennsylvania State Education Association, their teachers, and joining us is John Myerson with the United Food and Commercial Workers, the UFCW 1776, 24,000 members throughout Pennsylvania. And we're going to talk about pensions, who has them, who wants to take them away from you, and also some of the other issues as the June 30th deadline looms with this governor, with Governor Corbett, trying to adopt a budget that works for working families and what your union is going to do to protect all of you. So this is a live teletown hall. You can participate. In fact, we need you to participate in this teletown hall. Simply by pressing 0 on your touch-tone phone really virtually puts you live in the studio with us in Harrisburg, in the Capitol, where right now, at this very moment, lawmakers are trying to decide your fate, whether it has to do with pensions or privatization or paycheck deception. So we're going to get right to it. Again, remember, pressing 0 on your touch-tone phone, and throughout the call, we're going to tell you how to take action, how to contact your state representative, how to protect your interest, how to move forward and advance your interest, protect your interest, and move Pennsylvania forward. So the first issue that is on the target today are pensions. Pensions, pensions, pensions. Who has them? Who wants to take them away? Jerry Alexiak, the president of the Pennsylvania State, the vice president of the Pennsylvania State.
Thanks for the promotion.
Understood. President Crosby, I hope you're not on the line. But Jerry, is there a pension problem in Pennsylvania today?
Well, the folks on the other side would want you to believe there's a pension problem. We believe that any problem with the pension was fixed with Act 120 in 2010. What we see is a revenue problem. We have a pension that has, I'd love to tell people this pension for the PSERS, Public School Employee Retirement System, has been around almost 100 years. It survived World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, several economic downturns, and it survived all that because it was taken care of. It was funded properly. And what we've seen happen, and we've been beating this drum with our friends in the legislature and our people who aren't our friends. Our members, teachers, custodians, food service employees, and all public education employees, superintendents, whoever, administrators have been paying their fair share all along. And for the past 10 to 12 years, the state has significantly underfunded. Before Act 120 in 2010, they significantly underfunded the pension system, and that's why we're facing what we're being told is a problem. There's no problem with the pension. The pension system is strong when we fund it properly and take good care of it.
And Jerry, maybe some of the problem is not enough of our members have pensions. Not enough workers in Pennsylvania have pensions.
That whole pension envy thing is an issue, and it's something that's tough to talk about with people that don't have it. And listen, everybody should be in a defined benefit pension plan. Everyone should have retirement security. That's what it's really about. It's about retirement security. We do not want to continue to be part of the race to the bottom, and that's what this is. So I think it's kind of a false choice saying, well, you have it, and I don't, therefore you shouldn't. It should be, I have it, you should have it too. Let's work together to make sure that retirement security for middle-class Americans, middle-class Pennsylvanians, is part of what is happening in Harrisburg.
Jerry Alexiak is the Vice President of the Pennsylvania State Education Association, representing 180,000 members all across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This is your call. It's a live call. It's a virtual call. Again, pressing 0 puts you live right here in Harrisburg, where all the action is happening this week. We're going to go right to the phones right now because Deborah from Honesdale, Pennsylvania, press 0. Deborah?
Yes, hello.
Hey, Deborah. Hi, Deborah.
Hello.
Hi. Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thanks for
Okay, what's your question, Deborah?
As a teacher in the state of Pennsylvania in the public school system, we're very concerned about the same issue that the AFL-CIO is, and we are interested in partnering and maybe making a greater impact on this issue. If that would be possible, could someone give me an address where I could get in touch with the president or somebody who would be interested in talking to me about this?
Well, certainly, with the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO, Deborah, that would be President Rick Bloomingdale or myself, Frank Snyder. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer. And our contact information, and throughout the course of the next several minutes, we'll give you contact information for both the PSCA and also the UFCW when we talk about privatization. Ours is www.paaflcio.org. And I'll tell you that our phone number is area code 717-231-2850. We'd love to partner with you. We'd love to hear from you. That's how we're going to get this thing done. You know, the things that's happening in Pennsylvania right now as far as a budget, if anybody is watching this sort of thing, it is set to expire at the end of the month, inside of 1 week right now, and there are those who are trying to take it off the backs of working families, not trying to fill a $1.5 billion gap that the governor himself created, but trying to push it off on working families. And John Myerson is with us from the United Food and Commercial Workers, who represents the 24,000 members across Pennsylvania, many of those wine and spirits workers, and also folks that are involved with the public sector pensions as well. And John, you know, just a little bit, several hours ago, I was at a press club conference with Pennsylvania Secretary Charles Zogby, Secretary of the Budget, who, when asked a question, does privatizing the wine and spirits store do anything to pay down the $1.5 billion debt that the governor caused? And his answer was remarkable. His answer was he didn't think it did. John Myerson, your thoughts?
Well, I'm in shock. I think for the first time in my career, which has spanned almost 30 years, I agree with Charles Zogby. No, and that's part of the problem, Frank, and I'm glad you asked me that. And first, before I answer, Deborah, I want you to know something. You were just on the line. The unions, the teachers' unions, and the unions of the AFL-CIO are all working together, fighting this pension, fighting to support public education, and fighting to help preserve the Pennsylvania wine and spirits shops. The reason that so much of this stuff is under attack, it has nothing to do with the finances. It's all ideological. It's paybacks to a lot of out-of-state, right-wing, Tea Party people, the Koch brothers, Pennsylvanians for Tax Fairness, Grover Norquist. These people are demanding an ideological payback in order to let Corbett and the legislature balance the budget. That's what we should be talking about. We have 5,000 members who work in the wine and spirit shops. Their jobs are at stake, but so much more is also at stake. The education for our children is at stake. We need funds for that. And we also should be talking about creating jobs. If we were creating jobs, we wouldn't be worrying about who's paying the taxes. Everybody would be paying taxes. Everybody would be able to buy a car, buy a home, be productive. That's what we should be talking about.
John Myerson with the UFCW, representing some 24,000 members all across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This is Frank Snyder, Secretary-Treasurer of the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO, pinch hitting tonight for Rick Bloomingdale. We represent 800,000 members all across the Commonwealth. This is your call. It's a live call. Pressing 0 puts you live in the studio with us this evening. We have several calls, and callers in queue that have questions and comments. But I would like to ask Jerry Alexiak, the Vice President of PSEA's 180,000-member union, to address what some of John said right now.
Well, and I appreciate John's response to Deborah's question, and I think that the reason we're seeing the pressure that we're seeing now is because for the past 3.5 years, this governor has been trying to do all these things, and it's the work of organized labor together, organized labor, teachers, UFCW, AFL-CIO, firefighters, the AFT, the Federation, and others that have worked together in a way that we never have before. And this governor has been very unsuccessful for the past 3.5 years trying to get this ideologically driven agenda passed. And the fact that we have been able to come together has stopped him. And I would tell Deborah specifically as well, depending on the area that she's from, we do a lot of work with the AFL-CIO through the Central Labor Councils. And many of our members and our locals are part of CLCs throughout the state. And I would encourage Deborah to contact us at www.psea.org, 717-255-7101, and we can direct her in the right way to see about that cooperation.
Great, Jerry Alexiak, PSEA. Okay, so how do you work and how do you do action? You do action and take this pencil and take this paper down at your home. 877-972-4473 will be the number that you'll want to call your state representative. I'll give you that number again throughout the course of the call, but we're going to go to Stonington, Pennsylvania. We're going to talk with Frank, and we're going to take a question. Frank, press 0. So Frank is live, virtually live right now with us here at the state capitol where all the action is happening this week. Frank, what's on your mind this evening?
Well, I worked at Danville State Hospital for 25 years and retired from there. And when I signed all the paperwork, it says I would be guaranteed for life a pension. So how can anyone want to take that away when it's a written document saying that? What also gets me upset is I see our state representatives are making $80,000 or $90,000 or more, plus about $900 a month for expenses. We haven't had a raise from the state for I don't know how many years. We just keep living on the same amount. So how can anybody down in Harrisburg want to do this to us that we worked and worked for a lot less than we could have gotten in private sector? I'm just so appalled by some of our whoever is trying to do this. I'm just so upset about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. And if you're so appalled, we need you to call 877-972-4473. But I'd like to ask Jerry Alexiak, our guest, and John Myerson, our guest, to ask for their insight on this issue as well.
Well, we've been telling our members all along that the message that we are delivering to legislators is keep the promise. And I think our caller just said it eloquently that this is you dedicated your career as a state employee in a very difficult situation. You were promised that pension, and there are some folks in Harrisburg that want to turn their back on that promise. And we are doing all we can to make sure that that promise is being kept. And I would encourage, as Frank said, your activism. You make that call. It's one thing when the labor leaders in Harrisburg talk to these guys and women. It's another thing when constituents tell their story to their legislators. It's much more powerful, and I would encourage you to do that.
All I have to say is 877-972-4473. Ask them that question. How can they take away your pension? And don't let them say, don't worry, you'll be okay. We're just going after the new people. How is that fair? They're doing the same job. If they're, sweating the same blood and crying the same tears as you, why shouldn't they also be eligible for a pension and retirement security? That's what this is about. They like to use the word pension, but what it's really about is your retirement security. So after working and giving your life to public service, you could have security when you're done working and you're retired.
Thank you, John Morrison, UFCW, Local 1776, and Jerry Alexiak, PSEA. Pressing Zero puts you live this evening with the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO and the PSEA in this virtual tele-town hall. We're talking about pensions, we're talking about privatization, we're talking about all the attacks on working families this evening. My name's Frank Snyder. I am the Secretary-Treasurer of the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO. Pressing Zero allows you right here with us, and we're going to go to Mel right now, who pressed zero. Mel, are you on the line this evening? Do you have a question or comment for us?
Yes, I am. I spoke to my Republican representative about 2 or 3 hours ago because I heard the pension bill was being worked on. What he said to me was that it was being pushed all out and that there were no good options. And I wondered if we had any update on what's happening on the Hill right now.
Jerry Alexiak, PSCA, would you like to field that question for Mel?
Well, what's going on right now, Mel, is anybody's guess. There's so many things going on at one time, whether it's paycheck protection, another anti-union attack. They're trying to tie it into pension. They're trying to tie it into other education, quote, reforms. One of the things that not too many of them are talking about is revenue. There are options. When they tell you that, what else can we do but cut, this governor has left money on the table all along, whether it's a fair tax on gas drillers, Medicaid expansion, modernizing the Liquor Control Board, which John is an expert on, delaying corporate tax breaks, closing Delaware loopholes. The Coalition for Labor that works on this together has come up with at least 10 different options that this governor has left on the table. And until they are willing to talk about funding the system properly, they cannot cut their way to a balanced budget, or they cannot cut their way to a system that is fully funded. Right now, the latest thing I heard was that the Senate Appropriations Committee pulled any consideration of a pension bill from its agenda for today. They're still over there. We are following it very closely. Our government relations folks are over there, and that was the last I heard just several hours ago, that the Senate is not ready to consider it today.
Jerry and Mel, and to all of our listeners, this governor's cut $1 billion from our schools, cutting health care services, refusing to compel drillers to pay their fair share. How are we going to figure with this guy, with this person who's in office right now for the next 7 days? How and what can we do to get folks active and engaged? How can they help us?
Well, John said it very well. A couple of 877-972-4473. That will patch you into your state rep. And I can't emphasize enough. It's one thing when they hear from those of us who work here in Harrisburg, your elected representatives, if you're members. Sometimes they forget that we are your voice here. But when they hear your story, that's what makes a difference. And I want to encourage you to call and have your friends and family call, your former coworkers, whoever is impacted by this, and that's all of our members, need to reach out.
This is a live teletown hall, and we have folks from all across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We have at least 1,000 on the line this evening. My name's Frank Snyder. I'm joined by our good friends Jerry Alexiak from the PSCA and John Morrison from UFCW 1776. Pressing Zero puts you live in this virtual teletown hall with us right now. We need your calls. We need your questions. We need your activism. We're going to Middletown, Pennsylvania right now, where Paula has a question.
Yes.
Paula.
Well, my question is kind of two-part. The last time I had participated in one of these calls, it was mentioned if they want to change our retirement so badly, why don't they do it first?
Good question, Paula.
Well, there are some legislators that are ready to do that, but that, again, is not going to solve the pension issue. That would be a kind of a token response on their part, and one that I think would be the beginning of a process where they then do the things that we've talked about, funding the system, making sure that the system remains solid.
They can be the test monkeys, or the guinea pigs, so to speak, of the whole system. They want to change it so much. Let them do it, and when that's all the bugs are worked out, then the members can follow. But
the one caveat, the one concern I would have with that is if they do that, then it's a lot easier for them to say, well, we did it, now you have to do it. It gives them that edge, and they are, they're employees too. I mean, like I said, I think everybody's entitled to a defined benefit pension plan.
They get so much benefits. They get, all these cars that they get to run wherever they want to, put hundreds of thousand miles on them, and destroy them. That when they go for resale, they're not worth anything. That's the least they can do, is be the guinea pigs of the system.
Well, if they're willing to do that, that's fine. But I think we need to be careful about singling that out, and we need to protect the system for the folks that are in it.
Well put, Jerry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. My other question was, they want to generate revenue. They want money. They want money. They want money. Why are they not even consider legalizing marijuana? Not just marijuana, but hemp growing altogether. Hemp is even more versatile than corn is, and clothing can be made out of it along with a million other things, and they're not even considering it. Not that I care.
Paula, John Myerson.
Paula, this is John Myerson of Food and Commercial Workers. There are actually some people who are considering doing stuff and legalizing marijuana, either for medical or recreational use. And the United Food and Commercial Workers Union actually would support that. We think that Pennsylvania is uniquely situated to handle a lot of the problems that other states had. We would be more than happy to sell either medical or recreational marijuana right out of our Pennsylvania wine and spirit shops. We already have an infrastructure of stores across the state, over 600. We have adult responsible clerks who are trained in handling intoxicants, knowing how to, and the hardware and the knowledge to know how to card people, how to check age, how to make sure people are sober, and we think that is an excellent possibility, and we're ready to do it. But that's part of the problem. The people up there in Harrisburg now are not seriously looking at other revenue options. They could raise an extra $185 million from the state wine and spirit shops without legalizing marijuana, by doing things like have more flexible pricing, by being able to enter into leases and purchase stuff quicker, and to be able to open more stores on Sunday and increase hours on Sunday. All common sense stuff that would answer some of the public's complaints about saying it's too hard to buy booze in Pennsylvania, although I've never had a problem. And raise revenue. But I think that marijuana option you raise has merit. And again, 877-972-4473.
I couldn't put it better myself. John Myerson, UFCW 1776. This is Frank Snyder from the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO. John and I are joined by Jerry Alexiak from the PSEA. This is a live teletown hall this evening. If you press 0 on your touchtone phone, it puts you virtually live right here with us in Harrisburg. This is where the action, this is where it's all going to happen this week. We're talking about pensions, those who have them, those who want to take them off of you. We're talking about privatization. We're talking about paycheck deception, and we're talking to you. We're going to Montgomery County, Virginia. Are you on the line this evening?
Hello?
Hey, Virginia.
How are you?
I'm great. How's yourself?
Fine, thank you. I have a question about the Commonwealth Foundation. I don't know if you've heard of them, but I've been getting.
I have heard of them.
Okay, I've been getting mailers.
About them too.
Right. I've been getting mailers in the mail. I saw the other day that they ran a full-page ad in the Philadelphia Inquirer, and they've been on television. And I would just like to know who is sponsoring that group. That's number one. Number two, the so-called teachers that they have speaking out for them, are they real teachers or are they actors? And if they are real teachers, are they public school teachers or are they in the private school sector and are very upset about the public school teachers maybe making a little more money? The ads do comment on that the teachers are riding on the backs of the taxpayers. And as a retired teacher, I resent that.
Great question, great comment, Paula. I'm going to defer to my good friend Jerry Alexiak, who represents some 180,000 teachers in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Jerry, your thoughts on Paula's concerns on that ad as well?
Well, we have the same concerns. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. The ads are misleading. I'll let you read between the lines what we mean by misleading. And if you mean that they're lying, if you take that they're lying, that's exactly what's happening. As far as in the TV ads, I don't know if they're real teachers or actors. I do know that some of the folks in the mailings are teachers in public schools. And they, like any group with 180,000 members, we'll have a few that are disaffected. But a lot of what they're talking about is money for dues for political purposes. None of that is accurate. We don't use your dues for political purposes. We use our PACE dollars, our Political Action Committee for Education, a completely separate and voluntary contribution that members make for direct political activity. We are allowed to use dues dollars to communicate with members about political decisions that our elected PACE board makes. So those ads are very misleading. Where the money comes from, that's a great question because it's my new favorite political term. It's dark money. They are not accountable. Every dollar that we spend as a union is transparent. Every dollar that we get from our members for PACE, every dues dollar is available. It's public knowledge. And where the Commonwealth Foundation, maybe it is the Koch brothers that the Commonwealth Foundation is getting its money from. A lot of out-of-state money. I laughed when I saw their commercial because I doubt very much that the diversity reflected in the commercial reflects the diversity of their membership, unlike PSEA and the Federation and the other labor unions that we work with. Those mailings, by the way, are very targeted. They are not blanket mailings across the state. They are directed at certain state legislators in districts that the Commonwealth Foundation feels is maybe vulnerable. So we challenge them all the time, and they are located here in Harrisburg. They are a quote, think tank, but they are supported by folks that are clearly not union or worker or middle-class family friendly.
Jerry Alexa, thank you very much for your comments and your insight. And some of those folks that are receiving that mail were threatened earlier this year with primary opponents, and that just never happened. These folks are regarded to be moderate or progressive, or actually they're thinkers on their own right, Jerry, right?
Right, and what's happening is that these moderate Republicans, and there are some still, who do think for themselves and are willing to listen to the voices of labor or public educators, they are being attacked by the Commonwealth Foundation for not being conservative enough. And their big issue is the paycheck protection, the paycheck deception that we've talked about, where they see this is their last opportunity to stifle the voice of working men and women in Pennsylvania by taking away the almost it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything. When they tell you what this costs, you better question it, because we are willing to pay the cost of deducting dues, but in some cases it's so low they can't figure it out. What it's costing the school districts or other state agencies to withdraw those dues deductions. That's their big issue. They're trying to bully these legislators into passing that act, and hopefully if people call 877-972-4473 and talk to their legislator and let them know that they are not buying that Commonwealth Foundation nonsense, that would help.
And it's not so much, Jerry, to listen to, but I think it's that the moderates to partner with. You know, it seems like the culture and the attitude in Harrisburg and Washington as well is that there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser, and that's very unfortunate for the constituents of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Pressing Zero puts you live in tonight's Teletown Hall. This is Frank Snyder with the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO. I'm joined by your friends and mine, Jerry Alexiak from the PSCA, John Myerson from UFCW 1776. We are leaving Harrisburg right now virtually and going to Beach Lake, where we have Gregory. Gregory, what is on your mind this evening?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. And the thing is, education is a big thing, and like the people questioning that these people about the paper. I mean, the paper anymore, there's no truth in anything anymore. Since the telecommunications in 87 and 94 and corporate America, I mean, even this governor of Pennsylvania, he even says in the paper, I mean, that he's got a corporate agenda in his mind, and that's to do away with all unions and everything else and turn everything to private sector. And I don't know when people are really going to understand that. And the thing is, we've been talking to our representatives in our area, and the whole thing is they're so scared, just like McCain did. McCain was threatened when he was on the inheritance tax, and they put the deadly spin on it, made it a death tax, and told him, if you don't vote the party, we're going to get somebody that's more conservative to run against you and replace them. That's how mindset they are and how they are to try to undermine and get away with the working class. I mean, there's no way, and these people should understand this, that not having a future and voting away the future. I mean, sure, there's good Republicans out there and there's bad Democrats, but the whole thing is most places, it's an easy choice if they just understand and listen to the unions and listen to what they're telling them, because there's a lot of people out there who will vote against unions just for the simple fact that they think they won't do anything to them.
UFCW Local 1776, John Myerson. What do you have to say to Gregory and to our listeners this evening?
Well, Gregory, thank you, for those comments. I think you nailed it. This administration is trying to privatize everything. The Pennsylvania Wine and Spirit shops, the lottery, public education. I mean, that's what all this move to charter schools is all about. And it's not because these agencies are not making money. It's not because they're not doing a good job. It's not because the people who work there are not working hard. What it's about is a political payback to contributors. There are people, the corporate people that you're talking about, resent the fact that this money that is being made in the lottery, in the wine and spirit shops, is going back to the public and is creating good jobs and is creating strong communities and services for our seniors. They resent that because they believe it's their birthright to get every penny of profit that they can. People are going to hear me saying that, hey, this guy sounds like it's class warfare. But let me tell you this. We did not start this. And they only started calling it class warfare when they're afraid that we're going to win. They started it. They want everything. They are the people, these corporate people, who are financing the Commonwealth Foundation. They are the Koch brothers and the Grover Norquist crowd. They're also the people who own the newspapers, which is why we never get a fair break from the newspapers. And they're the people who own Fox News, and it's why we never get a fair break from them. But if we stick together, as we're doing here, in the labor movement, teachers, clerks, painters, steel workers, everybody standing together and saying, hey, we are not going to do it. We're not going to see our futures and our children's futures ripped apart by these folks. So thank you for your call.
John Myerson, you're exactly right. We did not start this, but we're ready to finish this. We can only finish it with all of your help. We have about 1,000 people on this live virtual call right now. Pressing Zero puts you live in Harrisburg with us this evening. We need you to call your state representatives, and that number is 877-972-4473. These folks don't want to hear from Rick or Frank or Wendell Young or John Myerson or Mike Rossi or Jerry Alexiak. They need to hear from all of you. We're going to Harrisburg, right here next door. I wish you were with us, Kevin, up on the hill this evening, because they're still up on the hill up to their antics, but we need to hear from all of you. Kevin's on the line. What's on your mind this evening?
Well, first of all, gentlemen, I want to thank you for your leadership, and it's very transparent as to what's happening here. But I'd like to offer some insight into this, what you folks are talking about. You know, they take money for my deferred compensation out of my check. I have an additional medical policy out of my check, and people who donate to charities out of their check. I don't hear anybody talking about the taxpayers having to pay for that, but it happens.
Oh my!
Bingo.
No, Kevin,
exactly right.
You're right on. And
that happens. But my question is this: I know we have Act 20, and since you guys have educated us, I know with AFSCME we have made all of our contributions, and it was Tom Ridge that made the deal. They didn't make their contributions, and now they're trying to catch up. But we have Act 20 in place, and I've also heard that if it really comes down to the wire over our pensions, that would have to go to the Supreme Court. So my question is, how much teeth does Act 120 have? And if the pensions are really in a jam, will we go to the Supreme Court?
Good questions, Kevin, from Harrisburg. And I'm going to throw this one over to Jerry Alexiak, who represents 180,000 members of the PSEA in Pennsylvania, about letting Act 120 work. Jerry.
Right. Let me start, Kevin, with your comment about going to the Supreme Court. The answer is yes. We would go to any court that will hear us. The pension agreement that you have with the state is a contract, and there's constitutional language in the Pennsylvania Constitution related to impairment of contracts. Anything that's done to current employees, to the contract that you have, we would challenge that in court. Even when you referred to the Ridge administration, when that increase came in our pensions, we had to agree to it. We couldn't even take an increase in our pensions without signing a change to the contract. So we would definitely challenge it, and even if we as an organization wouldn't challenge it, you as an individual could. But I can guarantee you, we as PSEA will absolutely challenge any impact to current employees. Act 120 is a way that will fix the problems in the system. It added all kinds of different things like shared risk. So for folks that are in the pension system, if it falls below a certain return on investments, it increases the payment you make. It cuts the cost of future pensions significantly for the state, and employees are going to be paying over 7%, while districts will be paying less than 4%. The problem is, moving forward, that's the case, but there's an immediate revenue issue now, an immediate liability issue now that the state doesn't want to seem to deal with. They don't want to take care of paying the bill that's owed. Act 120 will work. It's already working for both the public school employee and the state employee retirement systems. But if we don't fund it the way it needs to be funded, if we do what the governor wants to do and lower the collars, that will not help the system at all.
And Jerry, I think that it's been proven by independent groups such as the Keystone Research Center and actuaries who have taken a look at Act 120 is indeed working. There's no question it's going to work. And they have this proposal, the governor's proposal right now. Folks that are following this at home might hear it as a Tobash plan, but whatever it is, it's a Corbett plan. It just simply costs the Commonwealth money. It costs all of us money. And that's really what it comes down to. Is that not?
It costs money, and it does absolutely nothing to address the liability that the system faces right now.
Excellent.
And it doesn't help the budget, because this governor's trying to pass a budget, and he's using this as a chip. It does nothing. He could get whatever he wants in a pension plan. It will do nothing to help his budget issue.
This is Frank Snyder from the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO. I'm joined by my good friends this evening, Jerry Alexiak from the PSCA and John Morrison of UFCW Local 1776. We're talking this evening a virtual live teletown hall. We need you folks to take action. This can't be about us. It has to be about you. Our lawmakers must hear from you, and they'll hear from you if you will dial into them at 877-972-4473. Tell them to keep your hands off my pension. Privatization simply does not work, and I'll decide to do what I want to do with my dues dollars and how they are deducted and collected. It's a virtual live teletown hall. We are going to Brian for his thoughts and his questions or comments. Brian, are you with us this evening?
Yes, I am.
What's on your mind?
I have a comment and a question. Kevin stole a little of my thunder earlier because I contribute to the United Way through my paycheck, and no one has an issue with how much it costs the payroll clerk to set that up every 2 weeks to donate money there. Yet, to pay my union dues, all of a sudden, the whole state has an issue. I'd also like to throw a little shout-out for Nick Miccarelli, who is my local state representative, a Republican who has done a fairly good job of let's say, voting against the rest of his party down here in Ridley and protecting some of our rights. But my question is this. I'm a local EA president, and I am not technically allowed to use my work email to communicate with my members for political purposes. However, I get 3 to 4 emails a day from groups like Free to Teach and some of these other groups that are looking for the Paycheck Protection Act, if that's what it's called. So why are they allowed to use my work email to communicate with my members about these issues?
Great questions, Brian. Jerry.
Well, if you're not allowed, they shouldn't be allowed. You said you're the EA president. First, thanks for what you're doing down there. I was a local president for many years, and it is the toughest job in our local, so I appreciate what you're doing for your members. I don't know if you have contacted your superintendent, but you need to let the superintendent know what's going on. In some cases, they're able to block things from Free to Teach and the Commonwealth Foundation, and that is, Free to Teach is connected with the Commonwealth Foundation. But they should not be allowed to do it if you're not allowed to do it. It's that simple. So I would encourage you to reach out, and if you are still having issues with it, contact PSCA, and our general counsel or your UNISERV can certainly help you with that issue.
Yeah, just real quick, Brian, again, you said what the issue is. It's a double standard. They'll take out the money, and not just for the United Way, but also if you have supplemental insurance, they're deducting that, and believe me, those health insurance companies, they got lobbyists. And they're using that money for political purposes, and nobody has an objection. In terms of the comment you made about Representative Miccarelli, I spoke to Nick about 3 or 4 times today. You're right, this is not strictly a partisan issue. We do have Republicans who are supporting us. The problem is this administration and its Tea Party supporters in the legislature. So we read you loud and clear. Thank you.
And just to follow up on what John said, Act 120 that we've talked about was a bipartisan bill. It was not one party that passed it. It was both parties working together, and it was only, 4 years ago. The tone was very different than it is up here today. And as you mentioned, Nick Miccarelli is a moderate Republican that works well with people. We don't always agree with him. He doesn't always agree with us. But he is someone that you can talk to, who we can listen to, and those folks are out there, and it's getting tougher and tougher for them.
Bottom line is, if you're with us, we're with you. If you're against us, well, we're absolutely against you. Let's go to Lord Valley. Jessica, are you on the line this evening?
Good evening. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
First, I want to apologize. I don't know a lot about what is being discussed here. I did know about the pension, but that was about the extent of it. I don't know the acts. I don't know the bills. But my thought of the whole thing is I teach elementary school, and you could watch the local news around here, and everybody's against teachers. You have summers off, you have holiday off, you have weekends off, you have a cush job. But what they don't realize is how much time and dedication goes into being that teacher and making sure that that child gains and makes growth. And there's got to be a way to sway public opinion on not only the teachers union, but the steelworkers union and the one about the wine and spirits union, and make people realize that we're all in this together and we need to stick together and not be against one another. There's got to be a way to help with public opinion. Is there any idea on how to change that?
Jessica, what a fantastic question, comment, and observation. And I'm going to allow my good friends, our guests here this evening, to each comment on that, because I think it's time we do say a good word about our unions. But Jerry Alexiak, who represents some 180,000 members of the Pennsylvania State Education Association all across the Commonwealth, what do you think about Jessica's remarks?
Well, she's right. And the flip side to that coin is any polling that we've done, any research that we've done, the two most trusted professions in America, number one, firefighters, number two, teachers. So the public does appreciate you as an individual teacher. They may not. Sometimes they see the teachers union as a boogeyman. They don't know that I spent 32 years as a special education teacher working with kids with emotional and behavioral issues before I ended up here in Harrisburg. So what we need to do is tell our story. When our members talk to their families, their friends, even their colleagues who may not agree, when they see people at the soccer game, at the pool in the summer, at church, whatever it is, at the supermarket, don't be afraid to tell your story. People do respect what you do. They do understand the difficulty of it. Nobody can really understand it because until they've done it. But you're right. You work very hard. You give back to the community, and we don't need to apologize for the fact that we do have the summer break, that we do, have the benefits that we have. We give back to the community. The members of the community trust you. They believe in you. They support the work you do. And we do have to, our individual members have to reach out and tell their story, and that's how this changes.
Jerry, Jessica, and John Myerson, you are all the community. John Myerson, UFCW 1776, for your remarks.
I just want to follow up on what Jerry said. We have to make this personal. It's about our jobs. It's about our retirement security. It's about our communities. And we have to let people know that. People will have a different feeling. It's easy to say, oh, teachers get paid too much. But if you look them in the eyes and say, you think I get paid too much? Or people think that all the public sector jobs, oh, they're easy. They just sit around. But if you make it personal and people know you, it makes a difference. Everybody who cares about whether or not you have a good job, that includes your family, it includes your neighbors who want you to keep your house up, it includes the people who you worship with, who want you to continue to support their church, the youth baseball league. All those people should be concerned. And we have to talk to them. And we have to get them to also take the time to call their state rep, like we've been asking you to do, at 877-972-4473. Because we are, as Frank said, we are the community. We're all in this together. We like to say we are one.
And John, I think that Jessica teed it up for all of us. And to the listeners, over 1,000 folks joined us this evening talking about these issues. Talk is cheap. We have to put it to action. John is exactly right. Get that pen, get that paper. A short pencil is better than a long memory. A public sector school teacher taught me that a long time ago, Jerry. and that number is
Wise words, Frank.
Yes, 877-972-4473. This does, in fact, involve the public sector, the private sector, steelworkers, just as Jessica said, and all the other unions, and the building trades, absolutely. At the AFL-CIO, President Rick Bloomingdale and myself have a saying that your fight is our fight, and that's really what we're thinking about, and that's how our feelings are on these issues this evening. Pensions, who has a pension, who wants to take it away. We have to stop the madness around privatization, and clearly, we have to stop the ability from anyone to tell you what you can do with the money that you earned through paycheck deception or any other misguided scheme by the types of Daryl Metcalf, Terzize, Corbett, or the Koch brothers, who are the billionaire out-of-state funders of Tom Corbett. And I'm going to ask for just a brief 30 seconds from my good friend Jerry Alexiak from the PSEA. Jerry, your closing thoughts?
Well, I want to follow up quickly on something Jessica said, that she's not an expert on these issues. She may not be a pension expert, but she is an education expert. And she when you reach out to your legislator, you don't have to understand the complexities of the bill. You need to tell your story. You need to remind them that you are there every day with the kids, that you have made your contributions when the state didn't. And that story that you tell will resonate, and you've got to get your friends and colleagues to do it as well, and that's what will make a difference in this fight.
John Myerson, the same courtesy, your 30 seconds.
Whether you work at a wine and spirit shop, you're an educator, whatever your job is, we are in this together. When we're united, we cannot be defeated. We are fighting, for our lives and the future of our children. Privatization is theft. Public assets are things that are owned by the taxpayers for the benefits of the taxpayers. That includes the state wine and spirit shops, the public schools, the state lottery. We have to stick together and protect those and protect our pensions and our standards of living. They want to break the unions because the unions stand in their way of even more crazy, obscene profits, because we want to make sure we're about income redistribution to make sure that the working class gets its fair share.
Well put, John Myerson, UFCW Local 1776, on behalf of President Wendell Young IV. John, your website, if folks want to get engaged and get involved in this fight against privatization.
www.ufcw1776.org.
Thank you, John. Our good friend Jerry Alexiak, on behalf of President Mike Crossy, your website information.
It's www.psea.org.
And my name is Frank Snyder. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO on behalf of our President, Rick Bloomingdale, and some 800,000 members all across the Commonwealth. Collectively, with our organization and the PSEA, we represent some 1 million working families across the Commonwealth. I am so sorry if we did not get to your question in particular. We still have a lot of folks that are in queue, a lot of folks that are on hold, and I appreciate so much you taking the time to listen in on this live teletown hall. I'm sorry we couldn't get to your questions, but your questions are best put and your comments are best put to your lawmakers. That's where you'll make the difference. That's where we win this fight. And if you dial 877-972-4473, that's how we make a difference. And we need you to make those calls tonight. They're working in Harrisburg. We're in Harrisburg right now. Jerry, John, myself. We're in Harrisburg, and your unions are fighting hard for you. So make those calls tonight. Make those calls tomorrow. Keep those calls going until this budget and this mess is completed. Your fight is our fight at the AFL-CIO as well as the PSEA. Thank you, everybody, for your time. It's been a great evening. Good night.